the Bible in a year. Day 84. Joshua 9, 10, and 11. Joshua 9. When all the kings who were beyond the Jordan in the hill country and in the lowland and on all the shores of the great sea in front of Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard of it, they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and to Ai, they also resorted to a ruse and went and made as if they had been ambassadors and took old sacks on their donkeys and old torn up and bound up wineskins and old and patched sandals on their feet and wore old garments. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. They went to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We have come from a far country. Now therefore make a covenant with us." The men of Israel said to the Hivites, "What if you live among us? How could we make a covenant with you?" They said to Joshua, "We are your servants." Joshua said to them, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" They said to him, "Your servants have come from a very far country because of the name of the Lord your God. For we have heard of his fame and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan, who was at Ashtaroth. Our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, 'Take supplies in your hand for the journey and go to meet them. Tell them, we are your servants. Now make a covenant with us. This, our bread, we took hot for our supplies out of our houses on the day we went out to go to you, but now it's dry and has become moldy. These wineskins which were filled were new, and look, they are torn. These, our old garments and our sandals, have become old because of the very long journey.' The men sampled their provisions and didn't ask counsel from the Lord's mouth. Joshua made peace with them and made a covenant with them to let them live. The princes of the congregation swore to them. At the end of 3 days after they had made a covenant with them, they heard that they were their neighbors and that they lived among them. The children of Israel traveled and came to their cities on the 3rd day. Now, their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. The children of Israel didn't strike them because the princes of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. All the congregation murmured against the princes. But all the princes said to the congregation, "We have sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Now, therefore, we may not touch them. We will do this to them and let them live, lest wrath be on us because of the oath which we swore to them." The princes said to them, "Let them live." So they became woodcutters and drawers of water for all the congregation, as the princes had spoken to them. Joshua called for them, and he spoke to them, saying, "Why have you deceived us, saying, 'We are from very far from you,' when you live among us? Now, therefore, you are cursed, and some of you will never fail to be slaves, both woodcutters and drawers of water for the house of my God." They answered Joshua and said, "Because your servants were certainly told how the Lord your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore, we were very afraid of our lives because of you and have done this. Now we are in your hand. Do to us as it seems good and right to you to do." He did so to them and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, so that they didn't kill them. That day Joshua made them woodcutters and drawers of water for the congregation and for the Lord's altar to this day in the place which he should choose.
Joshua chapter 10. Now, when Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them, they were very afraid, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. Therefore, Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoam, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come, help me. Let's strike Gibeon, for they have made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore, the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their armies. And they encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. The men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, Don't abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the hill country have gathered together against us. So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and the whole army with him, including all the mighty men of valor. The Lord said to Joshua, Don't fear them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not a man of them will stand before you. Joshua came to them suddenly. He marched from Gilgal all night. The Lord confused them before Israel. He killed them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of ascent of Beth Horon, and struck them to Azekah and to Makkedah. As they fled from before Israel, while they were at the descent of Beth Horon, the Lord hurled down great stones from the sky on them, to Azekah, and they died. There were more who died from hailstones than those whom the children of Israel killed with the sword. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. He said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand still on Gibeon. You, moon, stop in the valley of Aijalon. The sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. Isn't this written in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky and didn't hurry to go down a whole day. There was no day like it before or after it. The Lord listened to the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. These 5 kings fled and hid themselves in the cave at Makkedah. Joshua was told, saying, The 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave at Makkedah. Joshua said, Roll large stones to cover the cave's entrance, and set men by it to guard them. But don't stay there. Pursue your enemies and attack them from the rear. Don't allow them to enter their cities, for the Lord your God has delivered them into your hand. When Joshua and the children of Israel had finished killing them with a very great slaughter until they were consumed, and the remnant which remained of them had entered into the fortified cities, all the people returned to the camp to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then Joshua said, Open the cave entrance, and bring those 5 kings out of the cave to me. They did so, and brought those 5 kings out of the cave to him, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. When they had brought those kings out to Joshua, Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said to the chiefs of the men of war who went with him, Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. They came near, and put their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, Don't be afraid, nor be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord will do this to all your enemies against whom you fight." Afterward, Joshua struck them, put them to death, and hanged them on 5 trees. They were hanging on the trees until the evening, at the time of the going down of the sun. Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees, and threw them into the cave in which they had hidden themselves, and laid great stones on the mouth of the cave, which remain to this very day. Joshua took Makkedah on that day, and struck it with the edge of the sword, with its kings. He utterly destroyed it, and all the souls who were within it. He left no one remaining. He did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Makkedah and all Israel with him to Libnah, and fought against Libnah. The Lord delivered it also with its king into the hand of Israel. He struck it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls who were in it. He left no one remaining in it. He did to the king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Libnah and all Israel with him to Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. The Lord delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel. He took it on the 2nd day, and struck it with the edge of the sword, with all the souls who were in it, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he had left him no one remaining. Joshua passed from Lachish and all Israel with him to Eglon, and then encamped against it and fought against it. They took it on that day and struck it with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. Joshua went up from Eglon and all Israel with him to Hebron. They fought against it. They took it and struck it with the edge of the sword, with its kings and all its cities, and all the souls were in it who were in it. He left no one remaining, according to all that he had done to Eglon, but he utterly destroyed it, and all the souls who were in it. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him to Dibir, and fought against it. He took it, with its kings and all its cities. They struck them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it. He left no one remaining. As he had done with Hebron, so he did to Dibir, and to its kings, as he had done also to Libnah and to its king. So Joshua struck all the land, the hill country, the south, the lowland, the slopes, and all their kings. He left no one remaining, but he utterly destroyed all that breathed. As the Lord, the God of Israel, commanded, Joshua struck them from Kadesh Barnea even to Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even to Gibeon. Joshua took all these kings and their land at one time, because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal.
Joshua 11. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of it, he sent to Jobab, king of Madon, to the king of Shimron, to the king of Ashaphath, and to the kings who were on the north, in the hill country, in the Arabah, south of Chinneroth, in the lowland, and in the heights of Dor on the west, to the Canaanite on the east and on the west, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite in the hill country, and the Hivite under Hermon in the land of Mizpah. They went out, they and all their armies with them, many people, even as the sand that is on the seashore in multitude, with very many horses and chariots. All these kings met together, and they came and encamped together at the waters of Merom to fight with Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Don't be afraid of them, for tomorrow at this time I will deliver them up all slain before Israel. You shall hamstring their horses and burn their chariots with fire." So Joshua came suddenly with all the warriors against them by the waters of Merom and attacked them. The Lord delivered them into the hand of Israel, and they struck them, and chased them to Great Sidon, and to Misrapoth Maim, and to the valley of Mizpah eastward. They struck them until they left them no one remaining. Joshua did to them as the Lord told him. He hamstrung their horses and burnt their chariots with fire. Joshua turned back at that time and took Hazor and struck its king with the sword, for Hazor used to be the head of all those kingdoms. They struck all the souls who were in it with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was no one left who breathed. He burnt Hazor with fire. Joshua captured all the cities of those kings with their kings, and he struck them with the edge of the sword and utterly destroyed them, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded. But as for the cities that stood on their mounds, Israel burned none of them, except Hazor only. Joshua burnt that. The children of Israel took all the plunder of these cities with the livestock as plunder for themselves. But every man they struck with the edge of the sword until they had destroyed them. They didn't leave anyone who breathed. As the Lord commanded Moses, his servant, so Moses commanded Joshua. Joshua did so. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua captured all that land, the hill country, all the south, all the land of Goshen, the lowland, the Arabah, the hill country of Israel, and the lowland of the same, from Mount Halak that goes up to Seir, even to Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon under Mount Hermon. He took all their kings, struck them, and put them to death. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel except the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. They took all in battle. For it was of the Lord to harden their hearts, to come against Israel in battle, that he might utterly destroy them, that they might have no favor, but that he might destroy them, as the Lord commanded Moses. Joshua came at that time and cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, and from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua utterly destroyed them with their cities. There were none of the Anakim left in the land of the children of Israel. Only in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod did some remain. So Joshua took the whole land according to all that the Lord spoke to Moses, and Joshua gave it for an inheritance to Israel according to their divisions by their tribes. Then the land had rest from war.
Well, some pretty amazing stories starting to happen.
There's a lot of wars,
Yeah.
a lot of battles at this point.
This is one of the hard books to really digest when you're reading about it, because you see a really almost a harshness with God. But I have to think back. God was wiping these people out because of the amazing, horrific things that they were doing.
Right.
They were worshiping false gods. They were sacrificing their children. Who knows what they were doing?
That's right.
And God is now commanding Joshua to lead the people to destroy these people off the face of the planet.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That's what we had read a few books before. He said the reason why I'm doing this is because of the wickedness of how they were hurting. He describes they were actually sacrificing children. They were doing all these absolutely horrific things, and he wanted them wiped off.
Yeah.
And he was using the Israelites to do that.
So I'm not too sure how to read this when the Gibeonites come from their neighbors. They come and they pretend and they deceive them and they say, make peace with us.
You know what it reminded me of? It literally, as you were reading that, it made me think about when Jesus is talking to his disciples and a group of people who were following him or who wanted to follow him, who were wondering if he was the Messiah. And he said that if you want to follow me, you have to count the cost. And then he says, before you make this big commitment, if there's a building that you want to build, you're going to sit down, you're going to make sure you have enough money to complete it. Otherwise, everybody who sees that building, they're going to laugh at you if you run out of money halfway through. And I've seen buildings like that half constructed, where they've literally run out of money. And people are like, yeah, that's like very stupid. But then he also says, but on the other hand, you might want to think about asking for terms of peace, because if you see an army with 20,000 people coming against you, you only have 10,000 people. Like, who's going to win that? You're going to lose that. So ask for terms of peace when you have an opportunity. And so for me, I kind of saw it from that point of view with the, I think it was the Gibeonites, the people from Gibeon. They had humbled themselves. They're like, wow, we know that your God, whoever is your God, like he's more powerful than us. So we're going to humble ourselves. We're going to become your slaves. Like we're just going to submit ourselves to you and to your God. And, God spared their lives. That's my point of view on it.
The pride of all the other nations
Yeah.
around said, no, we're going to fight for our lives. But the Gibeonites surrendered. So maybe you could be right, yeah?
I don't know. I'm just looking at, what actually got allowed here and the fact that these people humbled themselves.
Yeah.
And that the other ones didn't. They're like, yeah, even though they just, marched around that city 7 times and they took over the city, just by screaming, we can still beat them, right? They didn't take the fact that look at what happened, look what God had already done for them. They still didn't acknowledge God.
And we see the story about how God does take care of his people, and he stopped the sun from going down. It says it's never happened before and it will never happen again. But God stopped the day from going dark for Joshua to defeat these people because Joshua asked for it.
And it was a whole day. And it wasn't like they were in the North Pole or, where you can have 24 hours, They weren't located in an area of the world where you get the sun for 24 hours. That never has happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure if they haven't already found it, I'm sure, the astrologists or archaeologists, whoever it is, who look back in time and be like, what happened to this day? We're kind of like...
I actually read an article. It was
Really?
The astrologists, there was a partial lunar eclipse or something happened on that day in history where the sun would have stayed up.
Wow. So they have already located that. Amazing.
Yeah.
It just goes to show archaeologists continue to solidify and show that the things that are described in the Bible actually did happen.
Yeah.
It does more to support it than to refute it, in fact.
Yeah. And I think it shows how great this God is that we worship. He is all about protecting his people.
Yeah. And again, going back to the heart, he wants to make sure that people stay devoted to him with all their heart. Otherwise, as he mentioned in this part of the Bible, the hearts will wander. The hearts will go towards evil things. And he said, you will destroy yourselves.
Yeah.
Again, he's trying to protect us from ourselves. And so he's putting things in place in order to protect mankind.
Yeah. No, it's so great.